respect from the Scottish Secretary, but not from your own side. Tell us what happened next.
Not so much. I went for a drink with a few friends. Not that many of them were Labour, I have to say, that evening. But, yeah, I mean, it's just disappointing, isn't it, when every woman that stood up, those same people were heckling, not the men, even though some of them made the same point on the other side, but it was when women stood up. And my friend Jess Phillips was sitting behind me, and she's been accused of making faces on Twitter. She was just appalled. We were talking amongst ourselves about how every time a woman stood, we got jeered, and that's not a great look, I don't think.
Is there a problem with Labour men MPs, or is it just the issue about the Scotland devolution bun fight, as it's been called?
Well, you know, we're still only a third of Parliament, so it still does feel as though we're slightly in the minority. In our party, though, we're more than 50%, so I would hope that Labour men are used to having loud, strong women around.
Have you got enough support from your own party leadership?
It depends what you mean by support. Whenever this issue comes up on television, there are people in Labour Party's head office who write lines for the Labour Party shadow cabinet who go on television and answer that question about whether I'm being supported. None of them ask me. They don't ask me if I'm being supported. Somebody in an office writes a line for a Labour MP saying I'm being supported. I'm not sure what that means. I haven't heard from Keir. The people in the shadow cabinet don't approach me and ask me if I'm OK or what they can do, and they don't discuss this issue with me. It's an issue I know inside out. They have advisors. Lots of them are based in London. I don't think it takes the temperature of women like me, women who vote for me and women supporting me.
So you feel a bit out on a limb, then?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not invited in for those discussions, and nor are the groups of women who I know and I work with.
And I think I'm right in saying that you decided not to go to the party conference in Brighton on advice, safety advice.
A couple of years ago, yeah.
Because you were threatened on the issue of transgender rights.
Yeah, I mean, I was just going to quietly not go. We all get threats all the time, but I knew that that particular group of people and some in Labour societies were really not going to enjoy it if I went. And I didn't want to be the headline, because that was the first year that Keir Starmer was making a big speech as leader. And in fact, actually, someone leaked it to the press that I wasn't going, and it became the headline.
And Scott, we have to say that you very kindly here in the studio did offer your support to Rosie on her stand that was taken in the Commons yesterday.
I think Rosie really has led the way on this, and she deserves tremendous respect and admiration for doing that. And the picture you've just painted about some of the abuse and threats you have faced on this issue for speaking out, I think is absolutely appalling. Of course, it's only a few years ago, Labour members of Parliament who were female and Jewish also couldn't attend their party conference because of the security issues around that, and ended up stepping down in Parliament as well. And the abuse and comments from some male MPs towards you from the opposition benches when you spoke yesterday was absolutely appalling. Well, I think Parliament's a far better place to be a female, to be gay, to be an ethnic minority than it used to be 10, 20 or 30 years ago. But I think some of the points Rosie's made illustrates we've got a long way to go.
Isn't it interesting that we're talking about misogyny in the police force, with many politicians commenting on that, when it seems misogyny is actually pretty rife in Parliament itself?
I think, unfortunately, it's still rife in various different sections of society, whether that be politics, public service, business, public services. We still have a long way to, a lot more to do to root it out, but we are making progress. I think that has to be said.
And I hope we've had a civilised discussion rather here in the studio, rather than disgusting behaviour that we saw in the Commons.